Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Diaz, President and Founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I'm bringing you another episode of Defining Infusionsoft Success. This week my guest is Charl Coetzee. Did I get that right, Charl?
Yeah, close. Coetzee.
Coetzee, sorry about that. Charl and I met a couple months back. He was one of the booth, he was one of the sponsors over at Icon. He's going to be telling us a little bit about that, but he's also a member of Ryan Levesque's Ask Method groups, one of his mastermind groups. And we've been spending a lot of time talking about that and how important it is to differentiate ourselves or segment our lists and our audiences so that we're talking to them in the language that they need to hear about. And that's where I thought would make a great topic for our program.
Excellent. Yeah, it's great being here with you today, George. Thanks for having me on.
And then Charl is here from South Africa, so he comes here, about 4 times a year, right?
Yeah, the last 2 years have been about 4 times.
So he's got plenty of mileage underneath his belt there. So he's here on a 3-week or so trip. Right now you're in Austin, right?
That's right. Yeah, sunny Austin.
So at least we're not 12 hours or whatever, 7 hours time frame off. He's on Central Time now. But anyway, so tell us a little bit about this segmenting and especially this messaging. We were talking about that before we started the program.
Yeah, exactly right. So like you just mentioned, I've been in Ryan Levesque's mastermind for about 3 years now. And one of the things that I've really learned from him is how, a one-size-fits-all marketing message is not really that powerful, and you really need to kind of segment the way that you speak to your market. So Ryan is obviously well known for his best-selling book, Ask, and just really refining in how you basically figure out what people want to buy even before they know themselves. So there's a whole process around Ryan's Ask method, and one of the innovations that came out of that is when Ryan and Jeff Walker basically started combining their 2 methodologies, which was the product launch formula together with the Ask method. And essentially all it comes down to is, instead of having a one-size-fits-all message like in the past, when someone ran a launch, you had your 4 videos, your 3 pre-launch content videos, and then your final sales video. That was the same message that went out to everybody that went through the launch. And of course, as we know, Jeff Walker's model, it's super powerful. Lots of people have done exceedingly well with that model, but the way that that's kind of being innovated right now and kind of taken to the next level is by adding segmentation on that. So when you can kind of determine, what are the 4 main segments within your market, and as Ryan refers to them, he calls them the buckets within a market. If you can speak to those segments differently, then people are going to actually respond to you differently. And one of my favorite quotes that I heard, I forgot who said it, but it's everyone kind of quotes it. They say, if you can articulate someone's problem better than they can themselves, they'll automatically think you've got the answer. And we've just seen that, when with the clients that we've worked with, and even in our own business, when we add that level of segmentation to our messaging, then people just respond to it differently because they kind of feel, wow, this guy gets me. And, that really helps with the KLT factor, people getting to know, like, and trust you, because you don't talk at a general level, you're actually just zooming in on that kind of a segmentation. Yeah. So that is one thing that we're really just adding to all of our marketing right now in Infusionsoft, in our launches, in whatever we can do, just to add a segmentation portion so that we can actually better serve our market, and also really helps you to stand out from the noise.
And Charl, in your business specifically, because you're a consultant, but you're in the guitar teaching business, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of a funny story because I realized that with the kind of business we wanted to build on an education side in the learn to play guitar space, I needed to have a big team, right? Because there's video production, there's copywriting, there's Infusionsoft tech, there's customer support. There's a bunch of roles that I used to play on my own, but I quickly realized I needed to get a team. So as we started building the team, people started just approaching us and say, can you help us with this, can you help us with that? And that's also how the agency leg of that has developed as well. So we do both of those. We run our own business and we got the team serving people.
So you were talking about segmenting or creating different buckets. Why don't you use your guitar business to look at the different buckets? Because that made it really clear to me when you explained it to me.
Yeah, sure. So for example, in fact, that's a great way to talk about that. So for the guitar space, if you think about it, there's different styles of music that people want to play, and whether that's blues, rock, fingerstyle, or they just want to kind of strum along some easy songs. So not only do you have the four different styles of music, but people also want to play that at different levels. So for some guy, he might want to really learn Texas blues and to be able to shred it up here on 6th Street in Austin, whereas another guy might want to learn to play the blues, but he just wants to sit in his back porch and kind of entertain himself. So already just with those two things, you have two different styles of music and two levels of, that people might want to play that at. So if I can determine what it is that somebody wants and to what level do they want to do that, then I can just really address that, their goal specifically at that level. And we've actually done that by building out a full-blown Ask Method quiz in the guitar space, which really helps just to kind of guide people through that process. Because if somebody really just wants to...
You used the term Ask Method, but there's a thing called a deep dive, which is some initial questions, right, where you really dig in and try to find out what these people care for. And I guess you've already identified that those are ones that people are interested in, right? Either the beginner versus the novice versus the more advanced person, and then the different music styles.
Exactly right. Yeah. So the deep dive survey that comes straight out of Ryan's Ask book, and that's what we've been talking about in the mastermind for all these years. So when I look at a deep dive survey, whether it's my deep dive survey or one of our clients, I look for a couple of things. I want to look for what is it that they want. I also want to look for, what pain is it causing them by not having that. I also want to look at why do they want that, and if I can in some way, shape, or form determine what their current position is. Those are four super, super valuable data points that then, when you analyze it, you start looking for, what are the big segments or the big buckets, as Ryan calls it, within that data that people gave you through the deep dive survey. And that's exactly right. That's where we found out these are the styles of music that people want to play, and these are kind of the levels that they want to play that at. So now we can go back and not just look at our products to make sure that we can serve the people, by giving them exactly what they want, but also by just really adjusting our marketing message to clearly articulate that I know what they want and I can give it to them. Here's what I've got. Here's what it'll do for them. And here's how they can go ahead and take advantage of whatever offer it is we've got for them at the moment.
Nice. So let's continue on with this guitar idea. So I'm talking to these people, and I mean, the end goal is I want to sell them something. So how does that play into your funnel?
All right, yeah. So there's kind of two ways. There's three main ways that you can do that. And but if you let's take, for example, a launch. If you wanted to run a launch for a product, then you're going to find that the people in your list, they're typically going to fall into one of four segments within that, right? Now, let's just say someone is a beginner, or they just want to learn to play blues well enough to play, on their back porch with family, where somebody else wants to really rip it up at 6th Street, and then you might have some variations on the theme for the other two segments. Now, if a beginner starts watching the first free video in my launch series, and I start talking about how, you're going to play at 6th Street and you're going to be, ripping it up live on stage, and you are going to have to learn this kind of a theory, and you're going to have to spend so many hours practicing. Immediately I've lost that guy, because even though that's interesting to him, his goal is he just wants to play for fun, and he just wants to have fun. So if I now know that for the guy who just wants to have fun, if my message started off by saying, you know what, if you are wanting to learn to play guitar just to have fun and, have a good time on your back porch, you can actually safely ignore 80% of the stuff that they're teaching you online when it comes to theory and crazy practice schedules and all this kind of stuff to develop some serious technique. Immediately that guy's going to feel the weight of the world kind of, lifted off his shoulders, because no longer am I trying to give him something that he doesn't really want. Now he's going to be way more receptive for everything else that comes after that. Now, my course, let's just say we've got a course for Blues Guitar Mastery, that actually covers both of those elements for the beginner and for the intermediate player, but I'm just highlighting different things, like Ryan calls this a feature segmentation. So we're selling the same product, but we're highlighting different features. So, I always kind of think about it like this, like if you're going to go and buy a car, if a guy goes to buy the car, the salesman is going to talk to me about, the engine, the mileage you can get, on your fuel, a bunch of, just geeky stuff that guys care
Yeah,
about,
the
right?
performance, right? Yeah.
Performance, exactly. But if the woman goes in, it's all going to be, well, have you got it in white and does it come with a cup holder?
No, right. How safe is it for my kids,
Exactly. So now they're selling the same thing, but they can address it in a different way. So I kind of find that to be a helpful way to think about this. How can you sell the same thing and address it in a different way? And that really is going to make people pay attention to you, because if a salesman starts rattling off on performance for a woman who's maybe not, interested in that, then he's probably going to lose her along the way. And our guides, or our jobs as marketers really, is that we do marketing correctly and we speak to the customers about, what is important to them, then they'll probably end up asking us for the sale, and we don't have to push the sales component that hard, or we don't have to push it at all because we've just illustrated that we understand and we get where they're coming from. So that message really just resonates with me, that I've learned from Ryan throughout all these years. And so that's what we spent our time just really figuring in. Number one, how can we define that message? And number two, what's the kind of technology needed in order to do, to deliver that segmented message to our market?
Right. And I guess that gets into this tool that you've built specifically. I mean, we build a lot of membership sites, and we use Memberium, we use Access Ally, a lot of other tools with Infusionsoft. But you've created, what is it, the MX Pro?
It's M10 Pro to kind of 10x your marketing. So m10pro.com, yeah.
So tell me a little bit, because you showed me an earlier version of it at the booth there at Icon, but tell me a little bit more about how that fits into this approach.
Yeah, sure thing. So like I just mentioned to you, getting really clear on your message is important, and just really figuring out how can you better articulate someone's problem and actually position your product or service as the perfect companion for that. And that takes time. And unfortunately, most of our clients, or people that come to us as an agency and they want to work with us, they are not really spending much time, really refining that message. Instead, they're messing around with tech. They're trying to get, all these different apps speaking to each other. And there's nothing wrong with the apps, but it takes, you either need to pay an expensive agency to put it all together, or you need to have the expertise and the time to set it up. So it's not unusual for people to have Infusionsoft plus this, Memberium, Samcart, ClickFunnels, Deadline Funnel. I mean, the list just goes on. And before you look at it, you're spending $1,000 a month just on tools, and people are trying, the business owners, the visionaries of the business are trying to piece all this stuff together. And
no, right. And
we just saw that
it's the wrong discipline.
Yeah, it's the wrong discipline, because the thing is, they know their customers well. So don't go and try and fiddle with tech and stuff. Rather go and spend.
And by the way, for those that are, he's saying the word tech, but he's saying it in South African. In case people miss that, he's using the word tech, but he says tick.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we've got a different way of saying it. Yeah, so the technology that you use to put all that stuff together, people shouldn't have to be fiddling with that, So what we create a tool called M10 Pro, which really integrates with Infusionsoft on an API level. So it's when you go into the tool, all of your tags, all of your products, all of that stuff will show up in the tool itself. But it allows you to deploy highly advanced and sophisticated marketing funnels without actually having to fiddle with stuff. So for example, this method that we've just spoken about, where you can run a launch, but a segmented launch, all of that stuff has already comes pre-built. So we've got the full campaign built in Infusionsoft. We've got all of the pages that you need taken care of. We've got all the fancy integrations taken care of so that you can run the stuff on Evergreen. So we just realized that there's a gap in the market, to kind of just make things easier, so that we can tell people, stop working in your business by fiddling with all these different pieces of software, and start working on your business by getting your marketing dialed in, your message dialed in. And then either you're going to get an agency that will, piece it all together for you, but, that can become expensive, or that's why we've created a tool for people who just want to kind of, we call it simplifying that tech stack, right? So you don't have 10 different apps. You can do a bunch of advanced things, from webinars to launches to promotions, all on Evergreen with just Infusionsoft and our tool. So that's really where that came from. And we're also starting to integrate it now with things like ActiveCampaign.
Oh, you are? Okay, so other platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, because we realized that, I mean, we love Infusionsoft. It's an amazing piece of software. Obviously, you know, there's no perfect software out there, but we really, really like it a lot. But even at $300 a month might be a little bit prohibitive for some people just getting started. So if they compare that to, say, a campaign for $9 a month or whatever. So we also want to just help people in that market, you know, also get a go. Because the thing is, if you look at, let's just say someone comes up with a great idea. They've discovered there's a gap in the market. They've got a solution for that. That's exciting, right? But now the time that it takes from when you had the idea to when you can actually go ahead and implement that. For some people, that's months on end, 3 months, 6 months, a year. So if you look at the opportunity cost, that, you know, at the end of the day, when they finally get that launch, they've just lost, you know, 6 to 12 months worth of momentum. And that's one thing I like. And you obviously probably use this in your own company, is more of the agile method when it comes to projects and so forth, because back in the day, they used to, when they developed software, it always used to go over time and over budget. And by the time this piece of software was released, it's no longer what people wanted. So now that's where the whole agile marketing came from, so that they launch with a limited feature set, and then they can be adaptive and agile as the thing goes. So we want to make it easy for somebody. If you've got your market, you know what your message is, you've got your product, and you want to get that thing up and running out in the wild as soon as possible, then M10 Pro can get you going with that in a matter of days, provided you've got your marketing collateral sorted.
No, right. And really, what's missing is the messaging, any video recording, which is where the business owner really should be focused, as opposed to, you know, fiddling around with all the technology.
Exactly right. Yeah, and the good news is, like we've all heard the saying, failing forward, right? And I fully believe in that. The sooner you can get a funnel out there and get some data back on how that funnel is performing, the better that would be for you, because now you can actually go ahead and make some tweaks. So, like, we've launched funnels that work with our internal list, but we just couldn't get it working with cold traffic. And then we've kind of had to go back and make 2 to 3 rounds of changes within the messaging and a couple of things like that in order to get the funnel to actually be profitable for us with cold traffic. And if you're going to take 3 to 6 to 12 months just to get that first iteration published, you know, it's just already so much time lost. So rather just get a version out there, get the data back, how did it perform, and then go ahead and make, you know, the relevant tweaks to that. Because, like, you know, getting a successful funnel built is really an iterative process. So you can't just get it out of the gate right the first time. You need to make some tweaks. So that's what we just wanted to make it easier for people, you know, because I've heard it with so many people, is that they're just tired filling with technology. But unfortunately, there's also a deep-seated psychological thing that kind of happens with most people out there, is we all have a fear of failure, right? Or fear of success even. But now the thing is, what happens is, let's just say you've got an idea and you want to launch it, and then you might be so close to launching it, but then you find out about this new piece of technology that can, you know, start displaying countdown timers in your emails. And then people say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to launch my funnel right now because I need that piece of technology. Or they hear about another piece of technology. So that fear of failure is kind of being soothed, like saying, don't launch it yet, wait, and until you get all these things stacked in your favor. But that really, one thing when I started working with really successful business people is I saw that money loves speed, and the speed of implementation is really important. So we just wanted to, you know, kind of simplify that whole process.
Great. Well, Charl, hey, this has been really valuable. I'd like to make sure that, you know, our viewers, you know, can tap into some of these resources. How would they find these?
Yeah, sure thing. So there's kind of 2 ways to get in touch. One way is getting in touch with the agency, where we, you know, build out the high level stuff. That'll be at JBayStudios.com, and you can just put obviously the link for the guy below.
Yeah, we'll include the links.
Fantastic, thanks so much. Yeah, and then our platform is called M10 Pro. So currently that's open by invitation only, but, you know, by the time this episode goes live, we'll have a way for you to get access to a cheat sheet that basically just shows you all of these important things that you need to take into consideration when you want to start looking at using the power of segmentation and automation together. So I'll give you that URL that you can hand out to the guys and girls, and they're happy to check that out, and you'll be able to get in touch with me like that.
Super, super. Well, hey, Charl, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope your stay here in the States goes well and your trip home is a safe one.
Thanks, George. Awesome to connect, and great seeing you again, man. All the best, and thanks for watching, guys.
Take care.